Once upon a time, I thought virtual machines were dumb. They're a thing of the past. Containers had completely replaced them. Docker and Kubernetes, those were the future. And Podman, if you're cool like that. I've never been more wrong in my life. Proxmox and virtual machines in general have become the basis of my Homelab. And so today in this video, we're going to talk about why, how to get started with Proxmox, and then going from installation all the way to your first virtual machine, probably with like a Debian 13 VM. Let's get into it. Before we start talking about Proxmox, let's talk about virtual machines and why you would want to run them in a Homelab or your enterprise data center. In your Homelab, you want to run services. Could be Jellyfin, Plex, Home Assistant, whatever else you're up to, AdGuard, Home. There are two approaches we could do in the old days before virtual machines and containers. One, we could dedicate one piece of hardware, like this mini PC I use as a server, per service. But that gets kind of wasteful, right? These have quite a bit of juice. We can run more than one service. But if we try to run more than one service per server, then we start getting a bit of a mess. Each service or application you run needs to do things on your PC. It may try to change config in some config files down in Etsy. It may occupy some port. It will need software dependencies that you'll need to install on the system. Now, that's all well and good, but what happens when two services need conflicting configs in your config file? What happens when two services want to occupy the same port? What happens when two services have different required versions of the same software that you now have to install on that system? This guy over here. It's a bit of a mess, and you have to manage that yourself. It's not fun, it's not awesome, it's not great. The more powerful our servers get, the less and less sense it makes to run one service per server, even though it's a nice, clean solution, right? You don't have to deal with that manual conflict resolution. We're wasting good hardware this way. Imagine, for example, I've got a mini PC that I want to run in my Homelab that's got 16 threads and 32 gigabytes of RAM. I want to run Home Assistant, but Home Assistant really only needs like 2 cores and 4 gigs of RAM. That's a lot of wasted hardware. So how can we solve this problem? How can we resolve messy config situations and also make use of our hardware? Containers and virtual machines, and Proxmox gives us both. So let's talk about virtual machines. Virtual machines let us carve up physical hardware into separate, isolated virtual computers, virtual machines. So for example, let's say this guy's again got 16 threads and 32 gigabytes of RAM, and I want to isolate my Home Assistant environment into its own system. What I can do is say, hey, take 2 of these cores and take 4 gigs of RAM and go run an entire virtualized computer, a fake computer running on top of this computer. You've got the actual computer, and we're creating a new system of just 2 cores and 4 gigs of RAM on top of that. That's a virtual machine. That's the basics of a virtual machine. It virtualizes an entire operating system that's isolated from the one it's running on top of. Pretty freaking sweet. So now, when Home Assistant wants to mess with a config file or have a port dedicated to it, it can just do that on its own little virtual sandboxed off machine. And it doesn't mess with Jellyfin, and it doesn't mess with AdGuard Home. They get to do the exact same thing. So this hardware is divided up beautifully while also staying isolated so it gets full control over that system. Virtual machines are pretty cool. Containers, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but containers also give us a way to isolate environments a little bit less, but also much more flexibly. We'll talk about that in a different video. So let's say you're convinced. You're like, virtual machines are awesome. What do I do to get started? How do I start virtualizing machines? And to run what kinds of services? And on what kind of hardware? I don't know. Let's talk about that. If you want to get started with virtual machines in your Homelab, I think Proxmox is the best place to start. And the reason is this: there's a lot to know. There's a lot to know about how virtualization works in Linux. If we look over here, we're going to need to know about things like KVM and QEMU and libvirt and commands like this to set up entire virtual machines. And this is simple. This is a simple virtual machine setup process. Now, there are going to be Linux and Unix gurus from all over the place who are going to tell me, yeah, of course I know this. And the truth is, if you want to really become a Unix expert, you're going to need to know how to build your virtual machines from scratch on the command line. But what if you just want to get started hosting some services today? That's where I think Proxmox really, really shines. This is my Proxmox environment. It's running on a machine just like this little chewy mini PC PC with a little bit more juice, and it's so easy to create a virtual machine. Later on, we're going to walk through the full installation process of Proxmox and show off how to create your first virtual machine with a Debian installation, but look at how simple this is. I can list all of my virtual machines over here on the left. You can see I'm running Kubernetes in a little cluster I've set up of virtual machines. I'm also running Home Assistant OS in a virtual machine. And to create a new virtual machine or even a container, it's just a nice graphical interface where a lot of the defaults are set for you already. That's what makes Proxmox so simple. A quick installation and you're off to the races setting up your virtual machines. It's freaking fantastic. So now the question is, what do you run Proxmox on? There's a lot of options. If you got an old computer laying around, you can turn that into your Proxbox like I have. But I really like these mini PCs for a couple of reasons. So I've got one here. I call this one Chewy, and it's got an N100 processor, an Intel N100. I think these are great because they sip power. They're so efficient. And so we've got an example here on Amazon.com. I'm from Canada, but I figured I'd show American prices. And they're fairly cheap. You can get them for the price of like a little bit more than a Raspberry Pi 5. Over here, we've got the N150 slight upgrade for $150. It comes with low power DDR5 RAM, 12 gigabytes of it, and dual 2.5 gigabit LAN, like Ethernet ports. I think that's fantastic, but it might not be the best choice for Proxmox, and here's why. These boxes are awesome, but they don't have a ton of cores, and when we're talking about virtual machines, we want to carve up and dedicate cores or threads to a specific virtual machine. And we just don't have enough of those with these N100 and N150 processors to really spin up a bunch of different virtual machines. Now, for a little bit more, about $100 more, you can get something like this, about the same size as this mini PC, but you've got a Ryzen 7 mobile processor in it. A nice thing about these mobile processors, that's the U at the end of this processor ID, is that they're designed for mobile computers, laptops and things like that, which want to sip on power. They don't want to be chugging through it like a desktop, which means that you're not going to be blowing up your electricity bill when you hook this thing up to run permanently at your home. Nonetheless, this thing still has 8 cores and 16 threads. It's a lot more headroom, and it's honestly probably more juice than you're going to need for your Homelab for quite a while, unless you start getting into like self-hosted AI machines and things like that. So for just $250, which is understandably quite a bit, but also fairly cheap in the grand scheme of computing, you can get started with Proxmox and get a lot done. So we've talked about why you want virtual machines in your Homelab, why they're useful for isolating environments. We've talked about what kind of hardware might be best suited to virtual machines in your Homelab at reasonable prices. Let's just install Proxmox and start taking a look at how you can go from nothing to your first virtual machine probably in 10, maybe 15 minutes. Once you want to install Proxmox, it's pretty easy. It's like installing any other Linux distribution. So if you've done that before, you're probably good to go. You're just going to want to go to proxmox.com, hit downloads. You'll see Proxmox VE 9.0 ISO installer and hit download. That'll hit your downloads folder, and then there's a whole host of ways you can flash that to USB. You can talk about Ventoy. Balena Etcher was a favorite of mine for a while because it's like cross-platform available. I'm just going to use ISO Image Writer, which is like a KDE thing. I'm going to grab Proxmox VE, open, and then here you can see under USB drive, it's just picking my generic flash disk. Of course, you can use DD or all sorts of other tools. This is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to hit create. Yeah. I want to overwrite that thing. And it's going to go ahead and do its thing. Once you've got that USB flashed fully, you're going to plug it into your machine, boot up, and to hit the boot menu so you can select your USB to boot from, you're probably going to slam F11, F8, or delete. I usually do them as a chord all at once while it's booting up, and then you'll get hit with a screen. Once you select that, you'll get to Proxmox installation guide here. I'm going to go through the graphical version of this install process. This is actually, by the way, running as a virtual machine on my Proxmox machine, which I think is really cool. So we're just going to agree to their end user license agreement. Most of the defaults are fine. On my installation, I didn't mess with anything. I'm going to hit next. I'm in Canada, my time zone. I'm going to go with Toronto. And then you're going to set a password. I recommend giving a real email address here. And then I'm just going to leave all of this as is. For the most part, it just detects what subnet you're on, all of that jazz, and gets a working setup there for you. So I'm going to let that happen. And then I hit install. It's going to take a little bit, maybe 5-10 minutes, depending on the performance of your machine. But once it's done, Proxmox. It's about that simple. It just reboots after installing. That was less than 5 minutes, and that's in a virtual machine. And then what it does is presents you with the IP address and port of your Proxmox web GUI for managing all of your virtual machines. So we can actually go to that over here. So if I'm going to open up Firefox. I need to turn off all these ads, man. Why are there ads in my Firefox? And we're just going to go HTTPS, and we're going to hit that IP 111.55, and it default ports to 8006. Now, your web browser might yell at you like mine is, telling you that it's unsafe because the TLS certificate or something or other. We're going to hit advanced. This is on Firefox. And then we're going to say accept the risk and continue. Because what's the risk, man? Then for logging in, you're just going to use root and the password that you set while installing. Now, it will complain at you. We're going to do some configuration from here. It will complain at you that you don't have a valid subscription for this server. That is not a big deal because Proxmox is free and there's some extra bits you can get if you're like an enterprise user. We're not enterprise users here. So we're going to do some rejigging of the configuration to get rid of that, or to make sure we're not pulling or trying to pull any of the subscription-based packages. To disable those concerns about subscription-based thingies, we're just gonna go on this left panel over here, zoom in a little bit, go to PVE, and then on this extra left panel, under Updates, we're gonna click Repositories. And then here, we've got 2 enterprise sources. We just need to disable those. So we click them, then we click disable, and then we hit reload. After we've disabled those, we'll get this error, no Proxmox VE repository enabled. You do not get updates. That sucks. We don't want that. So we're going to hit add, and then instead of selecting the enterprise repository, we're going to select no subscription. And then hit add. And that's it. Now we get updates. It says we're not production ready. That's fine. It's a Homelab, man. I don't need to be production ready. I'm happy as it is. And just like that, we're good to go. So we're going to hit reload so everything's happy, and then we can start making VMs. Now we want to work on creating our first virtual machine. I'm back in my actual live Proxmox environment. That's why there's some extra VMs here. Just ignore those. That's why they're there. I've just switched over where I'm actually running some VM. None of that matters. We're going to go down to local PVE, okay? This is just storage. And we need to grab an ISO so that we can start installing virtual machines. Just like we installed Proxmox by downloading its ISO, flashing it onto a thing, and then plugging it into our machine, we're going to do something very similar on Proxmox itself to spin up a virtual machine. So once I click local PVE, I've got a second set of options here. I'm going to select ISO images. You can see I've already got some installed or downloaded. You can actually download directly from a URL, which is pretty sweet. It's very convenient. I'm going to install Omarchy because I like Omarchy a lot. And I'm going to grab their ISO here. Omarchy is just Arch Linux Hyperland pre-configured setup that I made a video on a little while ago. By the way, when you Google Omarchy ISO, my video comes up. And I think that's pretty cool. So I mean, come on. What we're going to do is grab the link. So I'm right-clicking on ISO here, clicking copy link, and then I'm going to paste that there, and I give it a file name. So we're just going to do omarchy 2-o.iso. I didn't want to use a dot. And we download. And it'll give us progress bars and all of those fun things until it's done. Et voila, it's done. I don't know why I was French all of a sudden, but hey. Okay, so we've got our ISO downloaded. Now, we're going to click the big juicy create VM button, because what are we doing? We're creating a virtual machine. So we click that. I'm going to leave the VM ID as whatever, and we're going to call it Omarchy. By the way, that's the name of this host, this virtual machine. So I'm going to select Omarchy 2.0 ISO for this ISO image option. Then I'm going to hit next again. I'm going to select all the defaults because they're really good. I'm going to give this a few additional cores. So you'll remember earlier we were talking about cores and threads and things like that for hardware. I'm going to reserve, let's do 4 cores for this. You usually don't need anywhere near that much, but I want this to go nice and smooth, and I've got the cores to spare because I bought a nice little mini PC. Let's give it 8 gigs of RAM, right? Always multiples of 2, powers of 2, rather. And next, 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 finish. It's that simple. So many of the defaults are done for you beautifully, simply, and so we don't have to worry about all that like we would have had we done that with virt install in some script. You can see actually a lot of these things are very similar. We pass it a name, we pass it RAM, we pass it the path to an image, CPUs, and so on and so forth. But it's nice to not have to worry about that if we're not Unix experts already. Just like that, our virtual machine is ready to go. So I'm going to click on it. And then I get this new menu. I'm going to hit start and then console. Oh, and you can see I'm spawned in. I can view that virtual machine. So I'll hit Arch Linux install, I guess, and see where that takes me. I actually haven't installed Omarchy via the ISO yet, so I'm really excited to see how this goes. That's pretty sweet, right? Just hit enter. This is of course going to be different depending on what distribution you're using here in your VM, but it's the usual install a Linux operating system thing. So I'm going to give it all of its things. It gives me my stuff and I say yes. I select the hard drive. I say, yeah, you can format it. And you're off to the races. It's that simple. That's how easy it is to get started with Proxmox. Once our virtual machine finishes its installation process, like any other machine, it'll probably reboot into your operating system of choice. So in this case, we've got Omarchy. I'm going to log in, and it'll do some initial loading up and things like that with this pretty little progress bar. I love a good progress bar. And boom, just like that, you're in your virtual machine. It's a machine in a machine. It's machineception. That's what makes virtual machines so cool. And I still have, if we pop back over to Proxmox, lots of room running other virtual machines. I've got Proxmox nested in here so I can take a look at Proxmox running. I can also take a look at my Home Assistant VM, which is still running. 3 separate machines running on one machine. It's pretty cool. And it's about that easy. You install Proxmox like you would any other Linux distribution. Most of the defaults just work and do the thing. And a little bit of configuration on the repositories that are a little annoying with the enterprise stuff. But once you're done that, creating VMs is a breeze. And you can manage them all through the Proxmox GUI dashboard guy. It's pretty sweet. Not to mention, it gives you a little bit more flexibility with your hardware. I've run, actually Chewy here, is a pure Docker Homelab, right? All it has is a bunch of Docker services. Virtual machines give me a little bit of extra room to breathe, right? Some services just work better in a virtual machine than they do in a container. Home Assistant is one of those, by the way. I would say also, if you're looking to build up some professional skills, if this isn't just a hobby for you, you want to kind of get deeper and deeper into this as a professional, learning to deal with virtual machines is a great idea. You're going to deal with cloud. That's probably going to happen if you enter the industry, right? And AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, platform provider, something or other, a lot of them have virtual machine first services, right? Amazon's AWS EC2, that's all VMs. And so building up a little familiarity over here in your home lab can help you out in your professional life too. I'm a huge advocate for Proxmox. I think it's fantastic. It has become the basis of my home lab, and I hope it does for you too. I hope this video helped. If you liked the video and you want to see more stuff like this, consider subscribing or liking the video. Also, if you want to support me financially as I buy tons of additional expensive hardware, you can join the channel as a friend of the channel, paying a little bit monthly, which I'll put towards better cameras, more gear like this, and stuff like that. Also, if you'd like help with your home lab or you want to talk to other home labby people, we've got a Discord, which I call the Laundry Linux Shack. If you like things, like, comment, subscribe, that sort of thing, join the Discord, consider supporting the channel. All of these things would be super helpful, and I'll catch you in the next time.